presentation. We will have about 30 minutes of questions and answers from you, and happy to answer any questions you might have. In regards to that, you are always welcome to drop your questions in the chat. We will be checking that regularly, but again, remember that we will have time at the end to answer any of your questions. Before we get started, I again am going to drop that link to our sign-in form in the chat one more time. If you haven't had a chance to fill that out, please do so. In addition, there's a secondary sign-in form for those of you who are here to attend the Student Success Series through Student Success Programs. And so we will now put that information out there for you. So if you are here as part of the Student Success Series, you want to go to the website that I just put in the chat right now, ssp.kent.edu/attendance, and the code for this event. So you'll enter your name and then the code for this event, which is putting in the chat right now for you. 48610. So again, everyone who is here, please take a moment and fill out that Google Doc sign in. And then if you are also here for Student Success Programs, please go to that second link in there as well, that ssp.kent.edu/attendance. And our code for this event is 48610. If you have any questions about that, please feel free to drop them in the chat. All right, well, please continue to drop your questions or thoughts in the chat. And again, we'll have time to answer and address those in about 30 minutes. But at this point in time, I'm going to turn it over to Katie to talk about networking.
Perfect. Thank you, Julie, so much for a little introduction. And again, thank you all for coming and attending this. I also thank you because I know it is gorgeous outside. And so I thank you for sitting through this for the next hour-ish. And then from that point on, I hope that you were able to enjoy some nice weather for the rest of the day. So today's topic is going to be networking, one of my personal favorites of our Future Focus Fridays. If there are any questions, please drop them in the chat, and then at the end, I will make sure that Julie and I kind of will answer them, and then we can go from there. So, some expectations just to go over before we kind of get into this. So this session will be recorded and uploaded so that you can watch it again if you missed anything or just kind of want another refresher. And if you all could make sure that you are muted. If you are not sure, Julie or myself can make sure that you are muted as well just during the presentation. But we will definitely make sure to let you know when you can unmute to ask any questions at the end. There is a little raise your hand feature next to the video box at the bottom of your screen. It is the last thing. So when we are asking questions or anything like that, you can either unmute yourself or raise your hand. And then we do have breakout rooms, but today we're going to do that a little differently and just make it a group discussion if anyone wants to talk about either of the topics at the end or any other questions. So from that point, we are going to get started. So a quick overview of what this presentation is going to be about, some topics I want to hit, and then, you know, giving you a little bit more background information. So we're going to go over what is networking, why is networking important, how to identify your current network, some ideas to expand your network, and maintaining your network. So what is networking? Networking can be a multitude of things. We've kind of categorized this in 4 bigger sections. So networking is going to be relationship building. This is relationships with family members, friends, coworkers, your professors, other people in your life, your neighbors, things like that. You're building relationships whether you know it or not just by connecting and talking with someone. Another way to network, it's purposeful and intentional. So asking questions how someone is, what their interests are, what they do, anything that makes them kind of get to talking about themselves gives you a better idea of networking and how they are, and can also show you how you might be able to help them, or a resource, or maybe there's a hobby that you both like to do. Networking is so versatile, so it's a lot of the give and take. So if you're interested in someone and someone else is interested in that same thing, that's a great way to network and build more of like a relationship with that person, but then also share any resources, people that you know. And it's also building trust. So that kind of goes with relationship building. You want to be able to look at a opportunity maybe and think of, oh, I might know someone who could benefit from that. That's kind of more that give and take, but also the building trust side of things. Networking can be different for everyone. So it's kind of just a getting yourself out there in whatever way works best for you, which we will talk about some of those ways in a little bit. But we've done some job searching stats, and I'd like to share some of them with you because actually some of them surprised me a little bit. So 80% of jobs are not posted online. So they are either through word of mouth or just someone you may know. They may send it to you in an email or Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever the case may be. But that's super interesting to know that, you know, a lot of these positions that we see, and we see so many opportunities online for, you know, internships and jobs and organizations and anything imaginable, Facebook groups, things like that, and that a majority of those, you know, aren't really seen. They're more of a, you know, you knew someone, or, you know, it got shared with, you know, a colleague or something. So I think that's really cool to know, and a great way to know that there's so much more out there. You just kind of gotta find the right people to talk to. So more than half of candidates are eliminated from the online job search just because of applicant tracking systems. So the reason I bring this up is I'm sure a majority of you have done a online application for something, and you always wonder like, oh, well, you know, what happened with that? Well, networking plays a really great part in this because you can possibly reach out to someone who you may have a connection with through Penn State if you look on LinkedIn, or someone you may know that works at that company, and just shooting them an email saying like, hey, you know, I applied for this position. I just wanted to let you know I'm really excited about it. Something along that line. And that could kind of help with that getting lost in that application tracking system, because you let someone know that you applied for a position at their company. You never know where that opportunity or that small little gesture can take for a application or something that you applied for. So only 5 applicants actually earn an interview from hundreds of applicants. So this is why it's always good to talk to whoever, send that quick email or LinkedIn message that you applied for a position, do a follow-up email if you are very interested in just seeing where you are in the process, because again, those kinds of things, you never know where they are going to lead, whether that's for the current position or thing that you applied for, or for the future. So that's the nice part about networking, is it never is going to expire. And there's always going to be something that comes up that's new that you possibly might not have thought of, or might not have seen if you didn't do that networking a while back. And last thing, so referrals account for a third of all of external hires. So again, kind of reiterating, but as long as you're talking with people and you're telling them your interests or, where you want your career to go, or, you're interested in a certain company, whatever the case may be, or getting into a professional organization or volunteering, everyone knows someone. And so there's a chance that maybe they're able to help or point you in the right direction. Another stat that I wanted to quickly just go over. So this is from a JobVite survey. So 4 in 10 job seekers have found their favorite or best job through personal connections. So those personal connections are going to be a wide variety of professors or family members or friends or someone you volunteer with, whatever the case may be. If someone is looking out for you and they send you something, that has been shown that has been the job that they really go and actively make sure that they're applying to and things like that. I think that is something really cool to always be on the lookout for others and also for yourself, because you never know that your one thing you send to someone could be someone's best job and a great experience for them. And they're also looking out for you too. And the last one, so 80% of all jobs are secured via networking. So networking, kind of in this pie chart, takes a little bit of a different look at the different types. But I've actually seen a lot of jobs. If anyone is on Facebook, there are a couple job opportunities for Kent and also Women in Networking, which is a recent one I became a part of. And they are posting jobs and internships everywhere. And that is a really great way that if you don't want to, go maybe a traditional route of looking on, Handshake or LinkedIn or Indeed or things like that, you could also join Facebook groups or kind of look around on your local city pages. Those are also really great ways to look for things too. So everyone's probably heard the term, it's not what you know, but who you know. Well, I'd like to take a little bit of a different spin on that. And we've said it's not who you know, but who you get to know. So it's one thing to know someone, but it's another way to really share your interests, your passions, what you want to do, because that's the way that they can better help you. So I kind of talked a little bit about your current network, your professors, your family, your friends, but also your supervisors, your advisors, whether that's academic or if you meet with a career advisor. Your colleagues and coworkers, your classmates are going to be a great resource for you all because you're all in that same field and might have a good opportunity for someone else that might not fit you. But that's still great to share because we want to build each other up and have everyone be able to have their own success story. So networking is a great way to do that. Also, alumni. So I had briefly kind of touched. There is an option in LinkedIn where you can look and see Penn State alumni. And it is a great way to make that connection when you're kind of in that networking, searching for a job process, or just interested in meeting people and, building what could be for the future. So that is a really great way to connect with alumni. And then it also broadens your network and makes you maybe think about some things differently, and also broadens your area because there's people everywhere that can help. It just depends on where you're looking and your specific stuff. So expanding your network. So some really great ways to expand your network. I know things are a little crazy with everything being virtual, but I have seen a lot of great opportunities go virtual that are listed on here. So it's still a great thing to look into. So attending a company session, via handshake or via their website, attending some webinars, going to any alumni like events, or if anyone is from like the Cleveland area or in the Cleveland area right now, Engage Cleveland is a great resource that is good for local alumni and young professionals to kind of get together. Our office has some really great events and ways to network, which you're doing them right now by sitting through this presentation. So you already got one networking thing down. Setting up a profile LinkedIn and joining any Kent State groups or any groups for industries or jobs that you might want to be part of. Facebook groups, looking for volunteer opportunities. Starting a conversation with a stranger, as crazy as that sounds, I am the person where I am very about face-to-face as much as you can, obviously with COVID, but talking with a stranger, I will talk to people anywhere I am and just ask them how their day is and anything like that. And that is a way to network because you're putting yourself out there. But again, you also can network by sending a LinkedIn message, or sending an email to an older professor or something like that. If you're not about the going out and meeting people or being that engaged, you can also do that all via email, phone, things like that. So these are just a few ways that we've seen that networking works, but there are so many that if you could think of it, it's probably a way to network. So here's a really quick sample script that we have for kind of reaching out to network. A lot of the time, these are great when you might not want to be doing something in person or anything like that. But it also is a great way to show someone, in writing that you're interested in getting to know more about them or their company. And also you can put a little follow-up in there stating that you would like to, schedule maybe a call to ask them some questions, so like an informational interview, or that you just wanted to reach out because you applied for a job. You can kind of tweak this whatever your needs are, but it's also a good first step to make sure that you could get to that conversation-wise if that isn't an option at the moment. So keeping in touch. So this is a great way to stay in touch not only with your colleagues, your professors, things like that, but just in general to even put it on your daily activities or your weekly, what you want to get done if you do goals, is forwarding articles that someone would be interested in. That's a great way to network and show that you were thinking of someone and that you think that they would be really great at this. But also looking for articles, for yourself as well is also a great way to kind of see what is out there. So inviting to a connection to attend a networking event or something like that virtually is a way to meet new people. You also know someone there because you invited them. Again, a lot of these are just showing that you are thinking of others and how thinking of others can also help you because they might be doing the same thing. Updating your social media, liking someone's picture or retweeting, or I'm trying to think of all the other social medias that you can heart things on. Facebook, using the cute emojis, things like that. That automatically boosts someone's emotion and makes them happy that you took the time to like or comment or retweet or whatever. That's a way to network and show someone that you're like, wow, that's really great what you're doing. And as simple as that is, it has a great chain reaction. It makes someone feel really good. So that's one thing that I didn't really think about with networking, but it's so crazy how true it is. Sending personalized holiday cards or a personalized message, or as simple as texting someone like happy birthday or something like that. It is so crazy, the things that we do every day. We do not realize that that's a way that we are networking, even though we're just being ourselves. So some little tips that I'd like to share about networking. So don't wait until you need a network to build one. Everyone in this session right now, I will network with you. Whether you need or not at the moment, you don't want to wait until you need one and then struggle to try and have people, help you out. Although they will, it's so much better to just build it while you're going along, and then reaching out to that person, if you need something extra or, like I said, applied for something. So don't overlook the obvious. Like I said, everyone in here, we can all network together in your classes, in your office, in your family, anything that you do outside, like working out or going to a park, anything. Like, it is so crazy the amount of things that you don't think you're building a network and you are. So make sure your network relationships are mutually beneficial. So with this, that's more of that concept of, if you see something or something makes you think of someone else, send it to them. Maybe they've already seen it, but it at least shows that you're thinking about them for this position or whatever. But then they're going to probably do the same thing for you because you thought of them. They're going to think of you. Become an active alum. So when you all graduate from Kent, or if you have already graduated from Kent, just get engaged with our active students. Send a LinkedIn message, send an email, come to any of the events that at least our office hosts or the university hosts, come to homecoming, things like that. That's kind of a great way to be like an active alum. There are also like a bunch of other ways that at the moment are not coming to my head, but so volunteering to build your network, following up fast, and don't forget to send a thank you note. So volunteering to build up your network, introduce people to other people, share connections, things like that. Following up fast. So when I mentioned if you're applying for a position, an internship, things like that, always sending up a follow-up email to the contact person or the HR department is always great to see, where things are at. Also following up with if you made a connection with someone, or someone sent you that opportunity. Send them that you applied. Send them that you haven't heard anything. Send them if you do hear something, because being able to have that communication is going to be great for whatever opportunities may come next, because they will appreciate that you followed up and said a thank you. That is huge. It's hard to think about in the moment that you thank someone. After you apply, just send a quick email and say thank you, because they may think of you for other opportunities, and that's just a great way to keep that relationship strong. Whether you guys don't talk for a while again or whatever the case may be, you always want to keep those relationships strong. Whether it's just a quick hello check-in once in a while, whatever the case is. So, in a recap, I know I just information overloaded you on everything networking. But a few things that I'm hoping that networking is allowing you to do and that I have shared today. How to be informed, some ways to network and who could possibly be your network. Networking is going to allow you to gain visibility for future opportunities, however you decide to go about those, whether that, using your resources or using the web and LinkedIn and things like that. But the one thing that I want to leave you with is strong networking equals a shorter job search. So the more that you are sharing your intentions and sharing with others things that are important to you, the shorter that your job search will become and the easier it will become, hopefully, because you've already been able to connect with so many people that those things will just hopefully start falling into place where you need them to. So this is kind of where we could break out into a larger discussion. If either of these topics interest you, or if there are any questions in the chat or any questions that anyone wants to ask. But I do thank you all for at least sitting through this 30-minute presentation on networking, and I hope that this was beneficial to you all. And so if anyone would like to unmute or if you'd like to read any of the questions, let's do it.
Thank you, Katie. So as Katie mentioned, we'll now open it up for questions from all of you. So we're going to stay here in the main room and not move to breakout groups, but wanted to give you the opportunity to ask any questions of Katie and I about networking, how to network, who to network with, how to get started on it. And thank you again, Katie, for a great presentation. So as we mentioned at the beginning, you are welcome to either drop any questions you have in the chat or use the raise your hand feature and we can call on you. So it looks like we have a good question. Will we be talking about how networking works virtually, i.e. during the pandemic? I think that Katie and I can absolutely speak to how to network virtually. And I think that, and Katie, jump in if you have some other ideas, but I think this is where social media can really be utilized effectively to network during the pandemic because it is a different platform and a different style. And so a good start is maybe attending a career fair or an event. A lot of our employers are still putting out tons of virtual events, and we have those large scale career and smaller scale career fairs going on throughout the year. That making those connections there is a great place. And then, as Katie mentioned, following up with those connections can be done through social media. So you can follow up via email, but also LinkedIn is a platform that is specifically designed for professional networking. So if you're looking for ways to network virtually, I would highly recommend updating your LinkedIn profile and making sure that you're staying active on there. You can network with Kent State alum, joining groups through there, or looking at and networking with companies and organizations that you're interested in, and learning more about them through there. Absolutely. There are some things that are a little bit more challenging, but honestly, networking is virtually is a lot is more comfortable for some people as well. So while it's a little bit more difficult to make some of those initial connections, it can also be a little bit easier for other people to make them as well. And thank you for the follow-up question on finding LinkedIn groups with a lot of engagement. I don't know that I have a great solution to finding LinkedIn groups with more engagement other than just the only thing that I would say is you want to identify. We recommend LinkedIn as because it's designed as a professional networking platform. But LinkedIn is not always the preferred network social media platform of your industry and of the organizations. So, for example, I work with a lot of education majors, and I have found through the years that teachers tend to be more active on Twitter than they are on LinkedIn. And so maybe we recommend LinkedIn in general because for many, many different industries, it is the most popular and the most utilized networks that or social media site for professional networking. The other social media sites might be more utilized in your industry. And so doing a little bit of digging and finding out like what platforms are the organizations and the people that you want to connect with most active on. And it might not be LinkedIn. So
Yeah.
second question. Yep, absolutely. Katie, join in.
No, you're good. So yeah, I think everything that I would definitely agree with everything Julie had said. It is definitely interesting. So I had mentioned that I was a part of a group on Facebook that's for women's networking, which if anyone is interested in that, it's a really great group. But they have a plethora of like job and internship opportunities, but also other groups to utilize on Facebook. So I agree with Julie. It definitely depends on your industry. So if you ever see any companies or places that you're interested in, always look at their website because a lot of the times they will have their most used social media platform somewhere on their website, which gives you a really great idea of like where their communication is coming from. So that's also another way to kind of look and see, based on your industry, where things might be located. Just as a suggestion, but definitely like using all your social media platforms is a good way to kind of, spread out where you can find things.
I completely agree, Katie, with using and looking into more than one social media platform. One thing I would say is that it can be overwhelming to try and keep up with all social media platforms. So I would recommend that you don't try and keep up with all of them. So find the ones, and it might take creating accounts and looking and doing a little bit of work on all of them to find the ones that work for you best. But then once you figure out which ones are working for you and for the industry you're looking to go into, stick with those ones so that you're not overwhelming yourself on all platforms, because that can be too time consuming and all encompassing. So keep an eye out for that as well. So Madeline asked, what are some examples of professional networks that we can use? And maybe, Madeline, you can clarify a little bit of what you mean by professional networks. I'm thinking more about groups or organizations that would be good starting places, is kind of where your question is leading. So yeah, organizations and groups that you would be able to communicate with. Absolutely. So the first place I would recommend starting is with alumni. No matter what group you're looking at, if you can connect with a Kent State alumni, that already gives you a level of a baseline level of connection that they're more likely to respond to. So people are more likely to respond to outreach from people that they know or have a similarity with. So if you can find a Kent State alumni, and if you look at our LinkedIn resources through Career Exploration and Development, we have a lot of resources on how to find Kent State alumni on LinkedIn. So if you are interested in learning more about how to do that, but I would recommend starting there, and starting with that initial connection through alumni. Other than that, I would also recommend professional organizations in your field and industry. So there's oftentimes a couple different options. So there's student chapters of many professional organizations. Like I'm thinking in business, and I can't think of the exact organization right now, but there's a student chapter of the accounting organization. So that's a really great place to start. If they don't have a student chapter, they are oftentimes, professional organizations are oftentimes very open to students and to making those connections. And so a really great place to start is to look at what are the leading professional organizations for your industry and for the careers that you're going into, and start making outreach and connections in there. And it's a good way to do that. Other interests and considerations, like Katie mentioned, with the women in business group, those are special interest groups or options as well. But like I said, my first recommendations is look for alumni to connect with, because they already have that level of connection with you, and then professional organizations. And Katie, are there any you would like to add that maybe I hadn't thought of?
No, I think that's definitely a good like start. Yeah. I know, so it's not something that is like very big yet, and might be far off for some of you. But we at Kent State, we have a young alumni chapter. And so we are like, it's 18 to 34. And we're trying to kind of Ohio, and showcase, where alumni are and what young alumni like want to do. So that's something that is always like an option through Kent State. So that's something really cool. But there is something that like is going to be coming out kind of soon, that can pair. Oh my gosh, Julie, you might need to help me with this. That we have paired for current students to kind of work with like alumni in their field industry. So that's a great way to also connect with them as well. Julie, do you have more information on that?
I don't have a ton more information, Katie, but yeah, we are working on a mentorship and alumni connection platform that will allow us to hopefully connect you. And many of your departments and programs actually already have something like this in place. We're just working on centralizing it to create a group effort to connect you with alumni and more through there. The other thing I would add is that when it comes to networking, you don't necessarily have to start big. You don't have to start by joining clubs and organizations or groups outside of. Networking can be small things like forming a relationship with your professor outside of the classroom. And so professors are, and I think Katie mentioned this in the presentation, but professors are one of the best networking relationships you can have, because professors bridge that gap. They see you as a student and see how you work, and they also have those connections and they have that larger network. So building a relationship with your professor outside of just your attendance at the classroom can be super beneficial in your networking experience and in providing you with opportunities. And so when your professor's former business partner contacts them and says they're looking for an intern, you want to be front of mind as, well, this person is a really great student and has a really great work ethic. I think they'd be a great fit. Let me recommend them. So those are also relationships that I would highly recommend cultivating and attending those opportunities. And I know it's a little bit different virtually. You can't just stay after class and have a chat with them or ask questions. But many professors, you can reach out via email, or they're offering virtual office hours. You can pop into those and have a brief conversation there. And we are all looking for connection right now, I think. So I think that your professors would definitely be open to building those deeper connections through there. So take advantage of those relationships as well. Other questions? Any thoughts on virtual volunteering? I think this was, if it wasn't in the presentation, I think Katie spoke to volunteering is a great opportunity to build some networking. And I think that, again, it's about building those relationships and building that community. And so if that can be done virtually, I absolutely recommend it. If you have the time and energy in your schedule to do some virtual volunteering, I think is a great opportunity. Katie, any thoughts on that?
I was trying to think if I knew of any opportunities to virtually volunteer. I can't think of anything at the moment. I mean, I mentioned Engage Cleveland, and they can be a great resource, and they do have some like volunteer help, like helping spread the word kind of things. Which, as I say that, is actually a really good way to kind of take volunteering to a different level. So if there's ever like a event or anything that you are attending virtually, like putting it on your own social media and things like that, or sending it out to people, inviting people to come into it, it'll be a way for you to also kind of like network and show other people. And I know that like at least Engage Cleveland, they consider those people like volunteers, the ones that like spread the word about their events and stuff like that. So that could also be a way to kind of like look at it, but specific volunteer, that is definitely a little difficult. I would say if you see any opportunities that you that interest you, like a specific volunteer organization, reach out to them. See if they're allowing, virtual volunteering and what that entails, because it could be something that Julie and myself don't know about that could consider to be virtual. So there's no harm in sending like a quick email or message on social media to see if they're looking for help and what kind of help that could, what their definition of help is.
On campus, the Office of Community Engaged Learning has a number of opportunities, both socially distanced, safe, in-person opportunities, but also they've put together a whole list of remote volunteering opportunities. And so I just dropped the link to their website in there. So they are a great office to connect with if you're looking for volunteer opportunities too, that they can put you in touch with local organizations that they work with, or doing projects and opportunities through their office is a great option as well. Great question. Any other questions or thoughts about networking? Katie, how have you seen networking be successful in your own experiences?
Yeah. So I did my oh my gosh. I'm a double alumni of Kent. So I did my undergrad and my master's work here. But as an undergrad, I took advantage of every interest that I had. I found a way to like get involved. I was a little busy as a freshman trying to be involved in like everything. But it made me kind of realize like where my priorities lied. And once I figured out that like I really enjoyed business, I made sure that I, kept in touch with my advisor. I built relationships with my professors. I got involved in stuff in the business building so that I was someone that they would know if there was like an opportunity. I worked on campus and volunteered for a lot of opportunities to do like event and greeting work for different departments. So I kind of made my own track in figuring out what was important to me and how I wanted my college experience to go. And then made sure to stay in contact with those people. And I actually wouldn't have found my master's program if I didn't stay in touch with my freshman year advisor from exploratory, because I didn't know that all of my experiences would be put into one major. And so just by talking with her about something, my interest, she was like, oh, well, here's a program that you could do at the master's level. And I was like, wow, I didn't even know that. And that is just from building a relationship, giving them a quick update on how life was and asking them how they were. I've literally gotten, some opportunities to do some volunteer work just by meeting someone in a supermarket. That I think I've also, I love talking, if you guys can't tell already. So I am a full-on people person, like want to know you, want to be able to help you. And so I was just talking to everyone I could and, making people aware of like what my goals were. And then if my goals changed and I had previous relationships with people, I would just, let them know that I had a mind shift change. But I've also been able to, just by the small like network I had at Kent, I was able to find some really great local opportunities to volunteer down in Kent, which then led to some other opportunities at my family home in Cleveland. So it's really all about like how much you want to share with people and in what outlet you want to do it. Like I said, I'm more the person that will go and talk to people. But with COVID, it has been different for me to try and network and keep those relationships up, because it's hard to just do things by email. And so building in that, as crazy as it sounds, but like building in FaceTime with some friends, or a Teams meeting with your professor, or sending writing to someone on social media, things like that, are a way to still kind of like stay connected throughout this time until we can maybe get back to that point where we can network kind of in person. Those are the things that at least worked for me for networking. Julie, what about you? What are some things that worked for you, or some of them that you really like using?
Yeah, thanks for sharing. So I am not like Katie, in that I would never start a conversation with a stranger in the grocery store. That sounds awful to me, and is not my strong suit. However, I have had a lot of success with networking, and I've actually had Katie spoke to and showed you some statistics at the beginning about job offers and job recommendations due to networking, and I have had personal experience with that. And so a number of opportunities that I've gotten have been through networking. My success in that has been starting small in building relationships where there was already a connection. So things like my professors and my advisors, and even like one of the most successful networking relationships I've had was with my sorority advisor, undergrad, when I was a member of a sorority, and my advisor through there has been really beneficial in networking. We've created a really great friendship around it, but has led to some opportunities there. And so, like I said, what's been most successful for me is starting where I already had a baseline relationship, and then really focusing on cultivating that relationship and making sure that it was mutually beneficial to both of us, so that when something did come up, when I was looking for career advice or an internship opportunity, I could reach out and already had that established there. So a little bit different approaches. Like I said, I'm not one to start a conversation with a stranger, but really focus on building relationships that are already started for me. That has been most successful. Other thoughts, questions, comments from the group? Well, thank you all for joining us, and you are always welcome. You're welcome to connect with myself or with Katie on LinkedIn, and start building your network through there if that's a way you'd like to do that. And before we leave today, I'm going to drop a quick survey in the chat. You wouldn't mind taking a few moments just to fill out that survey. Katie and I will stick around for the next 5 or 6 minutes or a little bit after to answer any questions that you might come up with or might have for the group. But otherwise, Katie and I both hope that you enjoy the gorgeous weekend and get to spend some time outside this weekend enjoying the last of the fall weather before we get the snow that's in the forecast next week. Kate, I'm working on helping you out with, and for any of the rest of you who may need help with attendance, again, that website is I apologize that it's taking me just a moment. I'll redrop the link to the attendance website for Student Success Series. When you access that website, you should see a page that says that it should just simply say, when you click on that website, enter your name and then enter the event ID number. Is that what you're seeing? Thank you, Cody, or Katie. I apologize. Katie, redrop that code in there.
I was trying to scroll through. I was like, how can I copy this super fast?
Yes, your username is your Kent ID. Not your ID number. It's the email address, your email address without kent.edu. Well, so that we don't take up any more of your time, what you can do is if you filled out the Google Docs sign-in sheet, we do have proof of your attendance here. So what we can do is that I can send a quick email I can send an email to the person who coordinates these programs and let them know that it wasn't working for you, and hopefully they can get you logged into that, because we do, as long as you filled out that Google Doc, we do have your proof of attendance. Would you mind dropping your Kent ID into the chat so that I can pass that along